Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. My name is Derek Rosenzweig. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Jasper PIM, and I will be the moderator today. To begin, I just wanted to thank our friends and partners at ShipStation for hosting this webinar, where we're going to be having a sophisticated conversation on how to simplify your e-commerce tech stack. Throughout the conversation, our panel experts will be discussing the journey that many merchants just like yourself are having, while also redefining and discussing the flexibilities around SaaS today and how headless commerce can really play a major role into helping you scale your business. Before I introduce the panel of experts, I just wanted to let you know that we have Mark from ShipStation. He's keeping an eye out should you have any technical difficulties. And then lastly, we will have a Q&A at the end of our panel. And so without further ado, I'll introduce the panel's experts on the next slide. We have Derek Quick, who is the Director of Integrations for American Eagle. We have Daniel Fertag, the Global Director of Agency Partnerships at BigCommerce. We have Russell Griffin, Senior Director of Channels at ShipStation. Kenny Johnson, Senior Director of Product Management at Brightpearl. And we have John Marcella, Founder and CEO of Jasper PIM. And without further ado, I'll hand this over to Derek Quick from American Eagle.
There we go. I've been unmuted. Good afternoon, folks. Well, it's not that often I get to share my first name, Derek, with another panelist. So to help you keep your D's straight, I'll take a little tangent with my intro. I'm Derek Quick, father of three, avid hockey player, and the Director of Integrations and Principal Solutions Engineer here at AmericanEagle.com. Some of you might be thinking the retailer, others the airlines. Side note, I do have a private pilot's license, but for the rest of you, you probably know us, use us, and of course love us, as we are one of the largest family-owned digital agencies headquartered here in Chicago. We have locations throughout the US as well as globally. We've been building websites since the mid-90s, and in those early years, we developed our own CMS and commerce platform, and since then, we've grown to 400 plus employees and are top partners and implementers of many of the prevailing e-commerce platforms in the market today, including a favorite of mine, BigCommerce. So I've been with American Eagle for just shy of a decade. In fact, June 23rd is my big anniversary. And in my time here, I've had the pleasure and pain to witness a lot of the shifts in the market and the impact it's had on our merchants, as well as our implementations, right, supporting our customers. And we've seen monolithic systems, the giants of the industries, which conceptually in the past have sounded great, right? They kept everything in one place, but over time they become an operational nightmare to maintain. Upgrades have become re-platform projects, a huge undertaking. So one of the first shifts we saw was that we needed to split up this pain by splitting up the software by business units. Operationally, this has several advantages. However, the data powering these applications and businesses often became siloed or poorly integrated. So enter the world of SaaS, a world today which I'm truly excited about. So in my experience working with hundreds of merchants, I've encountered three common hurdles that we face when jumping in on projects together. The first is the paradox of choice, which identifies the principles of when we choose, how we choose, and why we suffer. Others might think of this as analysis paralysis, which leads us into the next challenge of what solution gets me the best bang for my buck and my time. And lastly, once you do make your choices and you do get that big wheel turning, what comes next? So let's start with the paradox of choice. In today's ecosystems of solutions, according to the April 2018 MarTech technology landscape, we are presented with nearly 7,000 choices. Derek, if you want to kick that slide over. Yeah, that's a lot of choice. And in the lower right is e-commerce platforms and carts. It's a chunk, but still within that chunk, there's a lot of choice. Overall, this ecosystem in 2011 had 150 choices. In 2014, 1,000 choices. In 2016, about 3,500 choices. And today, 2 years later, that's been doubled to almost 7,000. So a lot of choice. And it's hard for a merchant to cut the wheat from the chaff, right? It's hard to identify the best of breed, the winners. So today we're going to do you a solid, and we've defined for you the ideal technology stack, right? We've put a solution together that caters to both small businesses up through the mid-market and on to enterprise. So I want to hit the next slide. The idea is that as you grow as a merchant, you'll layer in these additional systems to support your growing business. Typically, you start at the bottom of the stack, right? Selecting that your face of your business, the e-commerce platform. And as you start scaling up, you realize that operationally you need to ship more packages. You need to be more efficient in how you pick, pack, and ship those packages. And you layer in a solution like ShipStation, right? Order fulfillment. And as you continue to grow, whether you're looking at more of a technical operational aspect or more of a marketing aspect, you're typically going to layer in an ERP and a PIM solution. ERP powering a lot of the logistics with maybe multiple warehouses, your accounting, your resources, your supply channel, things like that. And your PIM really putting you in that omni-channel world where you are syndicating your product, your content, whether it is physical product or digital, to multiple channels, right? The Amazons, the eBays, the Pinterest, the Instagrams, and all that jazz, right? Even the billboards and digital signage. So what we've done as the implementation partner, we've put these 4 wonderful systems together as a best-of-breed solution, really to carry you through from small to enterprise. We've got customers all along that scale. And typically what you'll find with this solution is that you're going to get to market a lot faster, your costs will be significantly reduced, and the days of data silos are gone, right? Upgrades are easy. These are the benefits of SaaS and pre-integrated solutions. And so with those rewards, you can reinvest into your business or yourself, right? You've been working hard, you want to keep growing, but you might need a vacation, or you might want to keep growing. So American Eagle is here to provide those additional services. We're with you 100% of the journey. With that, I'll kick it over to Dan with BigCommerce.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate the handoff. For those on the phone, my name is Dan Furtig. I'm the Global Director of Agency Partnerships for BigCommerce. What that means is I get to work with great folks like AmericanEagle.com to help enable them to build beautiful and high-converting sites on the front end, and on the back end, make sure third-party technologies like ShipStation, like Brightpearl and Jasper, sing and really execute flawlessly for customers using all of our mutual technologies. So we're going to cover a little bit on this presentation, the state of the e-commerce market. We'll talk about the shift towards SaaS, SaaS misconceptions, and then important considerations for your tech stack. Next slide, please. Before diving into that, though, I think that this is a term you've obviously heard on this call, and you'll hear a little bit more. SaaS, an acronym for Software as a Service. For those who aren't necessarily aware, let's define software as a service. And Gartner defines it as software that is owned, delivered, and managed remotely by one or more providers. And that provider delivers that software based on one single set of common code and data definitions that is consumed in a one-to-many model. What does that mean for an e-commerce platform specifically? Like BigCommerce, which is the leading software as a service e-commerce platform for established and rapidly growing businesses. That means that as a customer of BigCommerce, you are getting a fully formed application, and all of the updates and benefits that we make to the platform benefit all of the 60,000 plus customers using our technology today. So why is that important? If you are not selling online today, you are missing out on a massive opportunity. In fact, the global e-commerce sales worldwide are expected to finish at $2.8 trillion with a T this year, and going to grow another 20% year over year next year, it's forecasted. So if you're not selling online today, you're missing a massive opportunity to tap into how consumers expect to transact today. Whether it's B2B or B2C, consumers expect to be living in an on-demand world and be able to engage with you when and how they want. And you as a merchant need to be able to engage and respond to those customers in the manner that they most prefer. Moving online, the reason that market is growing so quickly, as I just described before, a lot of that mind share and a lot of the technology that's being used, including many of our partners here on this call today, that money is being spent on software as a service increasingly. In fact, according to Forrester, they expect that 2/3 of platform decisions will be shifting towards software as a service. So if you're not going to be using software as a service and you're looking at traditional on-premise or open source software, you're going to be in the minority by the end of next year. So 2 reasons that the shift is occurring. The first is total cost of ownership. And certainly software as a service is typically 1/5 the annual cost of ownership versus open source software. But it's not just the fixed cost of the software itself. It's really the opportunity cost. It's where are your resources going? Where is your headcount going, your mind share, and your budget going? Is it going towards platform maintenance and patches and upgrades, or is it going towards innovation and customer acquisition and customer conversion and CRM? It's really about resource and opportunity cost when we talk about total cost of ownership. The second key reason the shift to SaaS is occurring is speed. And certainly with software as a service, because it's a preformed application, you're able to get live faster and get return on investment faster. But more importantly, it's about the ability to easily adapt to changing channels, consumer shopping behaviors, and expectations. So I'll be handing off in a few moments to our friends at ShipStation. 5 years ago, it wasn't a reality that you would expect to be able to order in one single order a ping pong paddle and also a ping pong table, right? That's really complex if you think about it, and expecting to get it next day, right? Those are all logistical nightmares historically, but you're able to execute more quickly and adapt to those changing consumer expectations using SaaS. We'll talk a little bit about the benefits of open SaaS, and then I'll hand it over to our friends at ShipStation, right? So you're going to hear when you talk to BigCommerce and you talk to some of these other partners on the phone, the idea of open SaaS, which is really all of the benefits that I described earlier of multi-tenant software as a service, and includes things like ease of use, lower total cost of ownership, business agility, speed of deployment, and those resources, those valuable resources I mentioned earlier. But really what's most important is the flexibility to be able to extend native functionality into third-party applications, right? The customization capabilities to deliver the site that you want, the look, feel, features, and functionality that you want. Most importantly, the deep integrations with best-of-breed technology partners that are required to help scale your business. There is no one piece of software that is perfect for everybody. And if somebody tells you that they're perfect for everybody, they're not telling you the truth. But what's most important is choosing a software as a service platform that is flexible enough to adapt with your changing requirements. A couple of misconceptions worth touching on, and these will come up as you do your evaluation of what the right solutions are for your business. We've all heard these. So my on-premise solution is working fine. 99.7% uptime is good, right? I mean, if your platform is not 99.99% uptime, the difference between 99.7 and 99.99 is over a day of downtime on your platform. So think about what that actually costs you in revenue, in customer relations. You need a platform that's fully PCI compliant, now GDPR compliant, that is hosting and securing your data. And you need something that's scalable and robust, that you can customize to your liking, customize to be consistent with your brand expectations, and flexible enough to be able to integrate with a number of third-party technologies. BigCommerce is really breaking the mold on that expectation, where we can behave like an open source platform in that we can integrate with best-of-breed technologies quite deeply, many of whom are on this call. So with that, I'd like to hand it off to Russ Griffin, who is one of those deeply integrated partners that I mentioned earlier.
Thanks, Dan. So my name is Russell Griffin. I'm the Senior Director of Channels for ShipStation. My job is to work with all these wonderful partners that we have on the phone, plus a wide variety of others to make sure that we have seamless integrations that are effective for our merchants and by extension their customers. So shipping has become a highly competitive industry, and it's been driven largely by that one large company that we all know and love, Amazon. It has changed customer expectations quite dramatically, and one of ShipStation's missions through its wide variety of integrations is to make sure that our merchants are able to deliver high quality and high speed e-commerce experiences for their customers. This is an extension of your brand at this point. Customers relate to your brand very closely through the experience they have of getting their goods and their goods as quickly as possible, and making sure that your brand is actually extended through the process, so that when they receive something at their door, it actually has that merchant's name and is continuing that touch point. So here at ShipStation, we have a mission statement. It's wherever you sell, however you ship, exceptionally efficient. And it makes it pretty simple to talk about how our platform works. At the highest level, we're directly integrated with some of our best partners like BigCommerce. So when you go into the control panel, you'll realize how important shipping is to your business when you see the variety of options that you have, and that ShipStation is embedded in that control panel so that you can turn it on and immediately begin connecting your channels. Of course, your first channel would be BigCommerce or your web store, and then you have to look at syncing your orders through Amazon and eBay and any other integrations that you have. Since you're able to sync all those orders, you have a two-way communication between your platform, between all those platforms into ShipStation, and you're able to have one place to go manage all of your orders and make sure that those orders are getting out to your customers as quickly and efficiently as possible. And that includes being able to send tracking information, to be able to have that information updated in your store so that you know that these things are going out, and you're confident that these integrations are working. So the wherever you sell piece is extremely important because it gives you one place to go to pull all your orders in and make sure that you're managing your business appropriately. So however you ship is another conglomeration, for lack of a better term, of integrations. So when we talk about making the complex simple, one of the things we've done is we've built in all of these carrier integrations that in the past used to have to be made on an individual basis. So you've got discounted rates through some carriers that we work with. You can bring your own rates in if you've already negotiated those rates through your carriers. You can compare prices in real time. You can essentially manage all your carrier integrations and your carrier relationships in one control panel. So going back to the wherever you sell, you've got all of your channels coming in, all of your orders coming into one place. However you ship, you're able to choose your carriers and make sure that you're getting the right rates and you're getting the right discounts, and that you're able to use more than one carrier for more than one shipping option, so that you have flexibility of choice in everything that you do, and that your customers have the same flexibility of choice to give them that powerful experience when they're in the cart, checking out, making sure that they have all the options that they require to feel like they're going to get their product when they want it, how they want it, and be able to feel confident that your brand is going to deliver that product to them the way that they want to have the experience. And then the last part is making sure that you're exceptionally efficient in the way that you're able to deliver. So as your business grows and things become more complex in terms of operations, you're able to go in and preset all of your shipping workflows. So second day is always FedEx, or overnight is always UPS, or however you want it set up, so that as those processes come down through your warehouse, your store, or wherever you ship from, the people at the end of the line are picking the right packing slip. They're making sure that the label is properly formatted, that your brand is on the label, and that once it goes on the box, it's going out in the right way, ensuring not only that the customer has a great experience, but also that you as the merchant are saving money and processing things appropriately as fast as you possibly can. This enables you to scale your processes, batch print hundreds of labels as you grow. I mean, one of the interesting things about ShipStation is we're very wide in terms of the customer base that we serve. We have over 50,000 clients, and they range from people doing a couple of packages a week to people who are doing hundreds of thousands of packages a day. And we enable this through our exceptionally efficient piece in our automated processes. And one of the reasons that we're invited into this call and why I think we're a little bit unique is that we do have great integrations to BigCommerce. But as you grow and you change maybe the center of your e-commerce world, and the hub becomes perhaps an ERP or an OMS like Brightpearl, we've got native integrations into those platforms as well. So as you grow, you can keep your shipping efficiency while using these other technologies, and you shift the hub of your commerce operations around. So our job is to stay plugged in, be a part of your process even as you scale and use more complex systems. And lastly, being able to truly benefit from the power of SaaS, to have access from both a mobile and a desktop experience, to be able to not worry about uptime and maintenance costs, to be able to use our APIs for even more robust customizations. And lastly, to be able to brand your fulfillment experience so that your packing slips, your tracking emails, everything that touches your customer once they've purchased looks like your brand and gives them that experience is something that as a SaaS platform we provide. And now on to our friends at Brightpearl.
Right on, thanks Russ. Hey everyone, my name is Kenny Johnson. I'm the Senior Director of Product Management here at Brightpearl. I oversee, or among a few other things, I oversee our integrations team that manages and improves our integrations into platforms like BigCommerce, ShipStation, and Jasper. Just to give a little bit of background on Brightpearl, we're a retail and wholesale focused ERP, basically built to be the back office hub for a retailer or a wholesaler as they continue to grow. So I want to talk a little bit about today of kind of when it makes sense to start evaluating a back office system or an ERP, because as Derek said, it's not necessarily for everybody. There's a certain level of scale that you'll start to hit where it then makes sense to start looking at an ERP. So if you go ahead and jump to the next slide. So I want to talk about a few of the growing pains that we typically see merchants experience and when it makes sense to start taking a look at an ERP or a back office system. And this really tends to stem from as your business grows, you're likely adding layers of complexity to address that growth. So that being either you're bringing on more staff. Each time you bring on more staff, that is an independent human being that you're bringing on board who has their own way of doing things, as well as if you expand from a business perspective by expanding into new channels or adding new warehouses. Every time you do that, you add opportunities for things like overselling and understocking across channels to occur, mispicks, having to create different processes that you're having to track on sticky notes on different laptops for specific product segments, or when an order needs to go through a drop shipper, excuse me, or a specific warehouse. So there are a lot of different things that can really begin to occur as you start to grow and scale your business. So then that takes us into some of the steps that you need to take, or some of the areas that you need to evaluate in order to be successful when bringing on a back office tool like an ERP. So one of the biggest things we really harp on at Brightpearl is look for basic and repeatable processes and figure out how best to automate those. If you are finding that your staff are doing repeated clicks in order to ship orders out the door, each time your staff member is completing that click, that order is becoming less profitable because you're having to put man hours towards some basic steps of routing and fulfilling an order. It also makes sense to draw out and create a framework for common workflows. So even if there are manual human steps involved, ensure that that's a uniform framework across all of your different channels, drastically helping reduce the amount of errors that are going to occur. It's also helpful to look at things like user permissions and escalation paths. So there's definitely things you don't want your warehouse staff members to be able to do that you're okay with your accountant doing. And that's a lot of the things that we see merchants get themselves into trouble with, is they have a million different people hitting their single data source in terms of financials and orders, and that causes things to go out of sync very, very quickly. Another big thing we really harp on is focus on shifting staff towards front office operations. So that's things like customer interaction, continuing to drive towards a marketing effort and promotion. By looking at a proper back office system where you're able to drive down the amount of clicks that it takes to get an order out the door, you're helping drive down your marginal cost per order, thus freeing up cash to invest in either new products, new promotion, or more staff members from a customer service perspective. And then a big thing is to set KPIs and monitor your process. So look at things like your fulfillment cost per order or your shipping latency, basically how long it takes you from when an order is placed to when you're actually shipping that order out the door on average. And that's key data that a back office system is going to allow you to actually collect and monitor. It becomes very tricky to do if you're trying to track that in spreadsheets or across multiple channels. So over the last quarter, we ended up doing a survey with multi-channel merchant to understand the shifts in consumer behavior, and found some pretty interesting details about kind of where customer expectations are going. As Russ said, our favorite company out there, Amazon, is doing a huge amount to drive these expectations within customer bases. So we found things like 45% of consumers are willing to pay more for next day delivery. 40% of consumers are buying more from retailers who can personalize their experience. And then there's a massive shift towards returns. We put out a case study about the coming tsunami of returns as the try before you buy movement continues to gain steam. And that's really that we're seeing a massive shift in what consumers are expecting around their ability to have free returns as well as seamless return experiences. And really what all four of these stats have in common is that they all are not things that are possible to deliver to your customer without solid back office processes. Trying to achieve next day delivery, if you have multiple warehouses and you don't have a system that's automatically routing orders across your different warehouses, you're going to be in trouble because you're either going to be throwing a ton of people at the problem to try to solve that, or you're going to be missing shipping, your shipping deadlines. You're not going to be getting orders out the door quickly enough, and then your online reviews are going to get hindered pretty significantly. So really, as the larger retailers out there are driving consumer behaviors and expectations to everything being near real time, you need to ensure that you're continuing to drive down your marginal cost per order and automating where you can in order to keep up and provide high levels of customer service and ensure you're getting orders out the door on time. And then finally, next slide, please. I just want to talk a little bit about a shift we've seen from a technology perspective. So I talk about this idea of how modern APIs and shifts in the software environment have allowed for purpose-built tools to emerge. ERP used to be kind of a stuffy 80s and 90s term where you'd have $1 million instance that you installed and took a year or 2 years to fully implement within your business. But a decrease in cloud hosting with the rise of things like Google Cloud and Amazon AWS, as well as decreases in development costs, have allowed software companies to deploy and build specialized tools similar to what we've done at Brightpearl. We've gone out and built an ERP specifically for wholesalers and retailers, as opposed to building a highly customizable ERP that can work for oil and gas, software, retail, wholesale, kind of all in one. What that really allows us to do is significantly decrease the cost, as well as build a tool that's focused and built in your language, which means we're able to deploy much more quickly because we're training your staff a lot more efficiently. We're not having to go through massive scripting exercises or anything like that. The tool's been purpose-built for with best practices in mind for retailers and wholesalers. The other key piece is that we're also able to deploy much more reliable and performant integrations into other applications. So in the early days of e-commerce, it would have been a nightmare to try to push for real-time integrations into an e-commerce platform. It would make a lot more sense to just have a fully in-house stack in terms of e-commerce into your ERP. But with the rise of much more modern APIs and webhook technology, we're able to build very robust integrations that do not miss orders, that update inventory in real time into things like BigCommerce and push shipments out to ShipStation in near real time. So that's just kind of a quick overview on kind of our take on when it makes sense to take a look at a back office system, kind of some of the steps we see towards success, as well as the shifts we've seen in the market where we've been able to open up and build purpose-built tools as opposed to having to go out and build kind of monolithic systems like Derek had previously mentioned. So I'll go ahead and hand off here to John Marsala from Jasper.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to kind of be the last presenter here and share with you some excitement around this particular ecosystem and where exactly not only does a PIM, a product information management system, fit, but really talked a little bit about just how we simplify the e-commerce stack and looking at 5 different partners that might not seem organic. I am the founder and CEO of Jasper PIM. We are and were a systems integration company that kind of grew up organically in the space. So we came across the need for a product information management system, very honestly, in solving a lot of problems working with merchants as a technology-focused agency. So we have this massive amount of respect for let's call it the starting point. You've got a great relationship with an agency. They've provided you a lot of trust in the past and helped you get online. You've got a great commerce platform, BigCommerce, and you're starting to achieve some scale. You have then moved away from maybe something old world, big and bad, onto a modern SaaS, back office, ERP, OMS powerhouse such as Brightpearl. Everyone needs to ship and everyone needs to do it intelligently, and so you've integrated with ShipStation, and you've identified that these partners play very well together. And so I'm very happy to share where we fit into this, because I think we're kind of like the stop at the end when it's time to scale beyond into outside your own borders, languages, currencies, so on and so forth. So if we can start with the first slide, really excited to kind of carry on with the momentum. Thanks so much for the attendees that are still with us. I appreciate the continued attention. Let's share some stats. Not only is it an exciting time to run an e-commerce business, it's a really good time to scale one. And I don't know a merchant that doesn't want to double, triple the revenues. And I don't know a merchant that doesn't believe a partner when they tell them they can help them. Not only can we help them, this ecosystem can help scale your business. And that's exactly what we exist to do. So with rapid market expansion, there's all these challenges, not just with product information, but there's challenges across the business. And certainly with a focus on looking at consolidating your information, keeping it consistent. So you're going to have some back office challenges. You're going to have management challenges. You're going to have scaling and how do I get my products out to multiple languages, multiple currencies, multiple marketplaces, so on. So before we get into any of that, so let's just look at some data. Really, this is a really 16% organizations that trust their product information processes. It means, and when we speak to merchants, they don't have a lot of trust in their product data being accurate across and synergistic across multiple, let's say, e-commerce stores, selling context. Maybe they have a point of sale. Many merchants, even if they sell in one single platform, they have a lot of SKUs. They're trusting some of their junior staff to kind of manage, that sort of process. So with that, really, it's something that we need to consider as far as, again, organizations that are really kind of trusting where their information is going. That's something that's super important. The cost of inaccurate information is excessive, in order of 50 billion annually. So we can help you kind of mitigate some of those costs by managing your products better. Let's say incompatible tools. So simplifying your commerce stack. If you work with a ecosystem that is synergistic and connected together as this group of individuals are, you can expect that our tools are compatible. And that is a huge element in terms of considering where you're moving in terms of scale. If you're wasting a lot of time on tools that aren't working for you for products, that's going to cost you money and spend time also. And finally, we meet a lot of merchants who are still managing things through spreadsheets, even large ones, even enterprise merchants. So that's something to work with and work on there to be sure. So with a PIM, how does it work? You basically put all your product information in a single place, and it can come in from, let's say, your ERP. So it come in from your item master, and it could be a Brightpearl, it could be your accounting platform. And it comes into a place where your staff can nicely come in, see it clean, merchandise their products, start to organize your products in one single place. And this becomes important in a multi-channel ecosystem in terms of being able to scale internationally and globally. Once you put all your products in a single place, you can start managing things like not only digital assets, but really start to embellish. A lot of ERPs, OMS, back office systems don't do a great job of allowing you to richly merchandise your products, put in images, videos, SEO data, those kinds of things. But also even just in terms of automating workflows into publishing into, let's say, multiple stores in multiple languages, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Once your staff are in a single place, they're not in the back office anymore. Now your merchandising team is merchandising inside of a single product information management system that's built for that purpose. And then it can also, once you've got it consolidated, now we can do all kinds of amazing things like translate your content automatically, intelligently through human translation that's done based on SKU value, for example, and business intelligence integration. Let's help you find out where you're selling, what you're selling, where you're selling more of on all of your connected channels. And then also we can send out information to other platforms and pull that information back in again nicely. So continuously synchronizing your data across all your outbound channels is a really important aspect. Look, once you've put all of your product information in a single PIM, that, by the way, has now connected with your back office platform. So you've got all your data nicely in Brightpearl, and your accounting system, your inventories, management stuff, and orders, and we'll talk about how that syncs. Now that you've done that, our tool empowers you to talk about, okay, well, where do I want to push all of my products, and how do I want to schedule them? So not only can we now empower you to have multiple BigCommerce storefronts in different languages, English, French, Spanish, German, all across the spectrum, across the world, as well as markets in trading in different international currencies, and also different contexts. Maybe I want a different set of products to push to my business-to-business site that I'm selling to distributors and partners. And then I've also got a business-to-consumer element that uses the same SKUs. I don't want to duplicate that data. Most of our merchants are duplicating that data, and that's obviously costing them a lot of time and money. It allows us to connect our systems with your back office. So if we're pushing your products out onto BigCommerce as your storefront, we're able to pull that data back in again and feed it back into your back office system with Brightpearl, so that we have this full closed 360 loop. So really, this introduces the ability for the PIM to stack on top of the rest of your tools, allow you to kind of grow, sell into different currencies, different languages, different platforms, different markets, so on and so forth. Also, as far as fulfillment is concerned, we'll play very nicely with ShipStation, as the rest of the partners do, and similar kind of things. So augmenting data that comes in from the shipping side of things, and pulling that in and pushing it back into your back office is something that our PIM can do. Once again, having sort of connected partners that play well together is a way to sort of simplify the stack. And you can talk to any one of our partner companies, and we can kind of happily share, sort of stories of merchants that have had success across synergizing these things. Finally, just a last point on this note here, inventory as well, synchronizing that across multiple channels, Amazon, eBay. You can use a PIM in order to publish to those various channels as well. It really allows you to kind of reach a global scale in that sense. Finally, how do you know you need a PIM? Once again, when it's time to scale, you want to grow into mid-market or the enterprise space. So you want to go from whatever you're at now and you want to double your revenues, talk to a PIM company. That's your best bet. As far as next stack on to existing partners, you're managing a large amount of SKUs and you're having a really difficult time doing that. You want a PIM for that. You want to sell in multiple channels beyond just what is built in and default from various other partners. You want to do things that are more sophisticated, as we kind of described. You want a PIM. And finally, you want to go into multiple geographies. You want to sell into markets, languages. Not only will a PIM help you, PIM companies, good ones, will help you navigate a lot of the issues around that too. So on the business side of things, you're going to get partnerships. You're going to get invested parties and partners across the board that are really going to help you achieve that success. And I think that's why this sort of ecosystem exists. So thanks very much for your attention. I'm going to flip back on and pass over to Derek.
Great. Thank you all very, very much again. Thanks to all the panelists for the time. Looks like we do have a few questions here. For the first one, looks like it's directed towards Derek at AmericanEagle.com, which is, how long would it take to connect all 4 systems?
Sure, great question. And the answer, there's really no one firm answer, right? It does depend on what you're trying to achieve. And in many cases, we'll roadmap out layering in the solutions as we onboard different pieces along the way, depending on what your KPIs and goals are. So, for the small business, you're probably not going to be using all 4 systems. So, in the space that you're in, you're probably looking at 1 to 2 months, maybe 1 to 3 months in terms of onboarding and getting operational with a BigCommerce and a ShipStation. And then as you move more up market, or your B2B or larger retailer, things like that, you might be layering in a Brightpearl or a Jasper, and that doesn't really extend the overall project time. It typically, that the overall project is more complex. So we're doing more work inside of BigCommerce. We're doing more work inside of ShipStation, and certainly then you're layering in additional complexity with the PIM and ERP. We'll extend that out to about 4 to 6 months, maybe as long as 8, depending on really how fast all the pieces move. So certainly a lot quicker than your traditional approach of on-premise software, where you have the pain of deploying it to a server and replicating it and then moving it to production and all that jazz. The SaaS model and a lot of the pre-integration really accelerates much of that development time.
Great. We have another question here. This one's for ShipStation, and this is, what's the difference between your service and what Shipping Easy does, as they're both heavily integrated into BigCommerce?
Thanks, Derek. Great question. There are a number of shipping apps that are out there. Obviously, Shipping Easy being one of them. They can all be found in the BigCommerce App Store. A little bit of a difference there with BigCommerce and ShipStation is that we're actually integrated into the control panel, and we have a unique relationship there. Actually, you can do up to 50 shipments for free a month in BigCommerce using ShipStation without being charged. So a little bit of a pricing advantage. Outside of that, from a integrations perspective, we're integrated with far more marketplaces and carriers than they are. So a little bit wider variety there, as well as features like branded tracking, some other features that include email that you can send out with branded your brand on the emails as well. And then you can do more bulk printing of labels. You can print packing slips and labels in the same at the same time. There's just a number of scale options that don't quite exist with Shipping Easy. They can be looked at as a little bit more starter, although I feel like from a feature set perspective, we do a really good job of scaling from the small merchant all the way up to the large merchant, whereas they kind of have a little bit more of a ceiling there.
Great, thank you for that. And just as the last question here, this will be for Dan at BigCommerce, but what level of flexibility do agencies have when working with the BigCommerce platform?
Sure, I can answer this briefly, and Derek, feel free to keep me honest here. So from a front-end design standpoint, BigCommerce has a design framework called Stencil. It's a non-proprietary language. It's all common languages like JavaScript, SaaS, CSS, handlebars, and so there's no proprietary language to be able to learn. But the platform itself is highly flexible. So we have template themes that customers can work off of, but we also allow great partners like AmericanEagle.com to be able to download our CLI locally and do entire front-end custom design development and feature development, so that the customers that use BigCommerce don't feel the limitations of what traditional SaaS platforms out there, where they're very much boxed into a cookie cutter, me too theme look and feel. BigCommerce offers the flexibility to, if that's something that is not important to you, you can get started very quickly. But if the front-end design, look, features, feel, and functionality are critical to your business and the user experience you're looking to provide to customers, great partners like Derek at American Eagle can do really heavy customization on the front-end design.
Yeah,
Derek, anything to add?
Yeah, just to extend upon that, certainly BigCommerce even in the SaaS world, you're not really locked into anything. As an agency, one of the things that we're often battling is this misperception that you've got to take what you take or get what you get, go to the theme store and pick one that you like, and that is quite honestly not the case. BigCommerce has a lot of customers that American Eagle has worked on and for, but also other agencies, other SIs that have done a lot of creative work. At the end of the day, the framework that they have that's called Stencil is really just just CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, and it uses a concept called handlebars for some of the business logic, so the programming aspect of it. Real non-proprietary type things, right? And very turnkey. So for training our staff, it's really easy to get a new front-end developer onboarded in the BigCommerce platform in terms of taking a graphic and cutting it and implementing it. So we're not beholden to any type of functionality, and certainly with the open SaaS concept that they have and some of the stuff coming down the pipe that'll be announced shortly at IRCE, we are very, very excited with what BigCommerce has to offer.
Great. I believe that is all the questions we have right now. With that said, we again, thank you all for the time. Thank you to the panelists. Thanks for everyone sticking through here. If you have certainly questions, you can always follow up as well. But next week, for those of you who will be attending IRCE, all of the companies here and people here, AmericanEagle.com, BigCommerce, ShipStation, Brightpearl, and Jasper, we'll be hosting a happy hour next week, June 5th, from 7 to 10 p.m. Certainly encourage you to come out. It should be a really good time. If you go to Eventbrite and just search ShipStation, you'll see it pop right up. If there's nothing else, I just want to thank you all again, and have a great week.